Welcome to the Museum of the Jewish People at Bet Atfutzot. Here, we believe and try to tell the unique and ongoing story of the Jewish people. We believe that you are part of the story as well. Welcome to our family gallery of heroes, trailblazers of the Jewish people. Here in the gallery, you can find 148 heroes and heroines of the Jewish people, past and present, from Israel and from Jewish communities from around the world. You can find many different types of heroes, because a hero does not just mean someone who is strong and brave. A hero is also someone who can look at challenges and obstacles in front of them and overcome them. Like the difficulties we're all experiencing today, right? Sitting at home all day, with the family, that's tough, we know. You can find information about the heroes through the Bet Atfutzot app. On the app, you go to the Heroes menu, and there you can read about many of our trailblazers. Are you ready? Let's go!
Hello, my name's Abigail. I'm in 9th grade science class, the only girl in a class of boys. So for all those who want to know why I still take this class, this project about my favorite scientist is for you. Only this scientist is just like me. She's a woman. Her name was Rosalind Franklin. Born in England in 1920, as a young girl she was told she should be a seamstress or teacher. She chose to study science and excelled at it. During the Second World War, she volunteered as an air raid warden. By age 25, she was a researcher in Paris. Then, she was invited to England to a distinguished laboratory, but she found working there very difficult. It was very unfriendly to women researchers and Jews, and she was both. Even the canteen was for men only. She would have constant arguments with Wilkins, the director of the laboratory. Rosalind studied DNA. Today we know how to read DNA, to understand what we're made of, but in those days very little was known about it. Once she had discovered the DNA structure, it became a dear friend. In another part of the same laboratory, two scientists, Watson and Crick, were attempting to build a model of the DNA structure. They asked Rosalind to take a look, and she pointed out all the mistakes that they had made. Rosalind decided to move to New York, where she began research in other fields. After she'd left, Wilkins showed her rivals a valuable X-ray from her research without her knowledge. With this information, they were able to quickly build an accurate model of the DNA structure. Rosalind died at the age of 38, probably as a result of exposure to dangerous materials. After her death, Watson and Crick received the Nobel Prize for their research on DNA. They never bothered to mention Rosalind or her work. Over the past years, we're beginning to realize that without Rosalind's research, we would know very little about DNA today. There is some justice in knowing that Rosalind is now recognized for her invaluable work.
from Stockholm, where the 1997 Nobel Prize in Physics is about to be awarded. This year's Nobel laureate in physics is Claude Cohen, a Jewish-French physicist born in Algiers.
Are you listening, Claude? If you look closely, you'll see that even in complete darkness, there is a speck of light. For the Talmud teaches us that God exists in the smallest of details. Study, search, and share your knowledge. For this is the essence and wisdom of Jewish tradition.
The 1997 Nobel Prize in Physics is awarded to Claude Cohen, who together with his multinational team of researchers developed methods to trap an atom's tiniest particles with laser light.
Spinoza. Daddy, what is Spinoza?
He was a philosopher.
What is a philosopher?
A philosopher is a person who is curious about what everything around us means. They want to know why we behave the way we do, for example, or ask, where does God exist?
Isn't God in heaven?
That depends who you ask. Spinoza, for instance, was curious about perception, about the way we see things around us and how we interpret and think about them. He thought that God exists in nature, not in the heavens above, but rather in every little detail that surrounds us here on Earth.
You mean in me and in you too?
Yes, but Spinoza also wanted to bring all mankind together. Now, this was 300 years ago, and people were very conservative and stubborn. You wouldn't believe the things people said about him, especially when, as a Jew, he wanted to study with Christians. He believed that love and kindness must triumph over hate, and that it is for the people to decide what is good and right. It isn't a choice to be left to God. He thought that every person had the right to choose what he believed in. Of course, when the great rabbis of the time heard this, they excommunicated him. But Spinoza didn't give up. He continued to believe in what he thought was true, and eventually he won. The things that he believed in that were considered unacceptable back then are accepted all over the world today. Now he is considered to be a great and wise philosopher. Even Albert Einstein here said that he believed that God exists the way Spinoza explained.
Daddy, who was Albert Einstein?
I can see this is going to take a while.
Our story begins in Lisbon 500 years ago. Not only for Jews was this a dark time, for even the brightest of women were forbidden to shine. Dona Garcia Mendez was such a woman, a young widow and a Jew. She managed a company trading in spice and saffron, a successful merchant and a career mom. But the church had the power to demand that as a Jew her faith she must recant. This was something Dona could not do, so to Belgium she fled to begin anew. There she was renowned, respected and revered. Her business flourished, trading far and near. With her sister now partner by her side, they established a bank and continued to thrive. The king of the lowlands in their affairs did pry, eager for their wealth, to take it he tried. Yet shrewd Dona would not give in, took her riches and sailed with the wind. In Venice she could live and trade freely, for there as equals they treated the Jews. She became known as Dona Nasi, which means leader or president in Hebrew. Whenever Dona spoke, men would listen. She commanded a merchant fleet, ransomed innocent in prison, translated the Bible with such a sharp mind into Ladino, the language Jews spoke at the time. The Turkish Sultan was sincerely impressed. He admired her so that he invited her to his address. When her ship moored at his famous city, he gave her a crown and treated her like royalty. Dona lent money and funded the Sultan's wars. She even helped the needy, the frail, and the poor. As for her fellow Jews who still had no home, she leased the city of Tiberias to call it their own. The poets have written many a song and tale of this great woman who never made it to Israel. A humble Jew from Lisbon, she moved mountains to pave her way, and we are grateful for Tiberias, where she is remembered to this day.